What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Hope Shot. Oh man, hope everybody's enjoying this Sunday. Had a full day of rest and activities or whatever tickles your fancy, And today, man, it was super windy, super windy. I remember leaving my house this morning to go to my aunt's. It was 66 degrees, and by the time we made it 20 minutes down the road, it was freaking 50. it was it was wild. It was wild today, and then the wind was kicking like Bruce Lee. It was super strong. What happened to your light, Nate?
I'm playing with it.
You in the dark, bro?
No.
If you're jumping on, say what's up. Let us know you're here. We got old school, just me and Nathan. Just me and Nathan. So let's see. Do we have anybody? We got anybody? We got one person watching. They just need to say hi.
Yeah.
All right. Well, tonight, man, we're going to talk about a little bit about self-awareness, being self-aware. And, I was reading Just for Today, and it was talking about inventory, doing a daily inventory, a simple daily inventory, just to, become more self-aware about how we operate, where we can do better, and bring that into the next day possibly, because, if we keep stacking and stacking and stacking and stacking all these, bad days and what we do and how we operate, if we're never taking the time to look at it and become self-aware, where are we going? What are we doing? We're just eventually we're going to be right back in the same scenario we once were. Yeah. Becoming, I had somebody a long time ago tell us, people in recovery are probably one of the most self-aware people they ever met in their lives, and admitting when you're wrong is very, 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 very hard. It is probably one of the hardest things you have to do, is especially when your ego is fighting you the whole time,
Mhm.
Not wanting to admit you're wrong, not wanting to be wrong. And it's so much freedom when it comes to having to owning your part. Not saying that every time that anything that happens, I'm at fault. Sometimes I might not be at fault, but do I want freedom, or do I want to stay in the mess that's kept me stuck for so long? And that's where I have to understand the difference, and that's what recovery teaches us, is knowing the difference between when we admit our wrongs or when we don't. It's finding that freedom of owning our part. You know what I mean? And and that's a hard thing, owning our part. Um, and there's been many times where I had to come to realization that I'm not perfect. I know. It's crazy to think that Justin's not perfect, but it's true. I, I had to come to realization that I'm not, and I fail all the time. Not fail. I wouldn't call it fail, but I fall short. I fall short, and it took a long time, man. I remember when I was first in recovery and somebody gave me, like what we do is we do the where we ask people to give us some character defects. And somebody gave me one time and I was like, you're crazy. That ain't me. And it was it was self-righteous. And that hit me, bro. And that hit me hard. But becoming self-aware means I had to look at that, and it sucked. It hurt. It felt. It just I did not like that. I did not like that at all. So and then finally, man, down the road, man, I was like, damn, I really am self-righteous, and I had to work on it. It's like, but in that moment, it took a little bit, but in that moment, I really didn't. I didn't want to admit that. I didn't want to see that part. I didn't want to see that side of things. But when I did, and when that time came to where I was ready and willing to see that part, there was freedom in that, and that's what we're here to do, and how much freedom do I actually want? How much am I willing to do or see or work on in order to experience that next level of what what we're here for, is trying to see, you know taking my defects and, you know, and I talk about it all the time. I talked about actually, I don't know, it's been a lot lately where we're talking about our defects, turning them into assets. Because there's a lot of things that I take nowadays and I flip it. And those things have helped me so much in this beginning in my recovery and in my life and success and business. I mean, there's so much that I've changed from defects to assets. And it's also, how do I view these things? How am I seeing how I operate? Now, am I operating in a negative way, or am I operating in a positive way? You know, because everything in my life that my character, you know, who I am as a person, I could take everything too far, or, and it depends on which way I'm going. Now, I could also take all kinds of positive stuff and go too far too, into where I am just not doing it correctly, and it turns into negativity. But it's like, where am I going with this stuff? How do I view it? Am I taking that stuff and bringing it in and making it an asset instead of a defect? And isn't it benefiting me, or is it hindering me? And I've taken a lot of things, man, like, and it has benefited me greatly. And you know, I used to be shameful. I'll tell you this. The one thing I talk about lately is electronic music. Okay. I used to be so ashamed of that stuff, listening to it, because what it's attached to. What was it attached to? Well, it was attached to my ecstasy days. And we're supposed to be in recovery. We're not, you know, we're supposed to grow out of that stuff and da 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 da. Well, I can't. That stuff I love. The I just love it. And but I there for a long time, man, I felt so guilty about listening to it because of the feelings that I felt before, what they were attached to. And I had to get over that stuff too. And it's like, why do I feel like that when I listen to it, or when I have it loud, or whatever? Why do I feel that way? And that's something I had to come to realization. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just music. But it's how I'm seeing what it's attached to, or what it's bringing up inside of me, that I have to look at and see, why do I feel this way? You know, why does it make me feel like I'm feel guilty? You know, I have a shame and guilt for some reason, which I shouldn't. You know, that was the past. Now it just gets me motivated. You know, uh, yeah, you know what I mean, Nate.
I do. It still makes me think about the other stuff sometimes too, but
It's never, but it's never a good idea, you know.
we don't regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. You know,
Nope.
that's our journey today. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I got some people, bro. I got some people in the inbox. What's up, Diantha? Oh, look at that. I got this cool thing. Got it all. Picture and all. We got Tim
What up,
Tebow.
Tim?
We got Rachel. Good to see. Rachel, did you know 5 days? I don't know if you know that, but I just wanted to let you know that. Diantha, I know it's a shock to me too.
Yeah.
But you know, some things we have to let go, you know. Oh, Tommy. What's up, Tommy? Love you, bro. So proud of you, dude.
Miracle right there.
Mm-hmm. How free do I want to be? And that's the question we all got to look at, you know. Jimmy.
D-Bab,
I didn't know you knew how to work Facebook, dude.
D-Bab, Jimmy.
D-Bab, Jimmy. Matter of fact,
Yeah.
what's up, Kate? Right here. There we go. That's for you, Jimmy. I don't think I ever get Jimmy. I don't know if you got one of these, bro, but I got one for you.
Yeah, he needs
Just
to come
for
by
you.
the center and grab one of them.
Yeah, you do. Nate, what you got on being self-aware?
Well, I was just thinking about this reading. I think it was the day before yesterday. Hold, please. What was it? Oh, yeah. So this reading is called, it said, The Friction of Being Visible, right? It says, living through enough, we all come to this understanding, though it is difficult to accept. No matter what path we choose to honor, there will always be conflict to negotiate. If we choose to avoid all conflict with others, we will eventually breed a poisonous conflict within ourselves. Likewise, if we manage to attend our inner lives, who we are will sooner or later create some discord with those who would rather have us be something else. In effect, the cost of us Cost of being who you are is that you can't possibly meet everyone's expectations. And so there will inevitably be external conflict to deal with, the friction of being visible. Still, the cost of not being who you are is that while you are busy pleasing everyone around you, a precious part of you is dying inside. In this case, there will be internal conflict to deal with, the friction of being invisible. What this means in a daily way is that I have to be conscientious about being truthful and resist the urge to accommodate my truth away. It means that being who I really am is not forbidden or muted just because others are uncomfortable or don't want to hear it. And I was thinking about that as this topic was brought up, and like the idea of self-awareness is like, who am I? What makes Nathan who Nathan is, right? And the journey to self-awareness is really the exciting part, right? It's like, because I come in here and the only thing I'm self-aware is that I'm a piece of shit, right? I'm a horrible person. I have attached all these labels to who I am. It's my identity, right? I'm, an alcoholic, I'm an addict, I'm a junkie, I'm a convict, I'm no good, whatever, you name it. That's what I think I am. Nothing good, right? And how do I get from that level of like self-loathing and self-deprecation to self-esteem, right? And our colleague and good friend Caesar always says to gain self-esteem, I have to do esteemable acts. But how I don't even know what that is when I get here, right? So like for me, like the journey to start becoming self-aware has to begin with absolute surrender, right? First, it's absolute surrender, and then I have to take action. I have to follow instructions. I have to take the suggestions that I've been offered for 2+ decades, but wasn't in a position or a state of willingness to receive them, right? So, and something happens as I take an honest appraisal of who I am. And it says in the literature I read, a solitary self-appraisal isn't sufficient, right? I can't just look at it, because if I'm doing the work, I'm not going to see all the things that are, what we call objectionable, right? And I need to look at this from another angle. So I go through this work with another man, and he starts to point out, what part I played, and I believe the moment I become self-aware is when I start to take responsibility for who and what I am, where I'm at, my actions, to start truly embracing the idea that all these so-called hurts or wrongs that were done to me, I usually put myself in a position to be done like that, right? I step on the toes of my fellows, and they sometimes retaliate seemingly without provocation, right? I put myself in a situation to be hurt over and over again. My sponsor's always saying, victims don't recover, right? And somewhere between 4 and 9, when I get really vulnerable and honest with another man, and I start to take responsibility, and I start to look at this stuff from a different angle, and I understand that what part I played in this drama of my life, right? I can finally start to find forgiveness. I can finally start to see the pattern, and I can finally start to take an honest look at who and what I am. And in that process, I'm carrying the weight of 2+ decades. And in that process, I can start to shed all that stuff. I can shine a light on the things that have been haunting me and perpetuating my cycle of alcoholism and addiction to begin with, right? And now that these things are in the light, and I look at them and I take responsibility for them, and I am willing to make amends for them, that's when I transform from a victim into a servant. Right. And in that transition, my perspective is shifted. I have a profound alteration about how I think, feel, act, believe. I see the world through different lenses, because I see the world through how I'm showing up, right? What have I done? And, in that 4 to 9 process, and I get to a step 10 now, and the step 10 promises us that I will cease fighting anything or anyone. That's a hell of a promise, right? How do I get there though? Right. And how do I stay there? Because I can't rest on my laurels, right? And so this program, this life of recovery, gives us this roadmap and tools to stay constantly aware of how we're showing up in our everyday lives, right? Because anybody can go to a meeting for an hour and, keep their shit together and be, be humble, be kind, be compassionate. But what are we doing the other 23 hours of the day? This is what I need to be looking at. And this is what I need to bring under, this is what I need to inventory on a nightly basis. And through all this, right, I have no chance at all of being self-aware unless I have some sort of relationship with God, right? Because left to my own devices, I'm selfish and self-centered, right? Left to my own devices, I am a victim. Left to my own devices, I don't see, where I went wrong. I'm not even willing to admit that I am wrong, let alone sorry. And that's the shift, right? When I switch from self-reliance to God reliance, and I start turning this stuff over, I start surrendering, and I do the things that gets me in a relationship and provides me with a conscious contact with God. And the things that I could get away with, year 1, year 2, in the past, whatever, they don't fit in my spirit anymore, right? That's where the awareness comes from, because now my spirit, it yearns and longs for something good and kind and compassionate. It doesn't do well with manipulation. It doesn't do well with me walking out of a store for something I didn't pay for and just saying, oh, hell yeah, I got over on them. No, I go back and pay, because I can't stand to be dishonest today. I can't stand to manipulate. I can't stand to, consciously, harm somebody without some semblance of, remorse or regret or willingness to make it right. But I can only see this if I'm connected, right? Because if I'm not connected, it is very difficult for me to see past my own nose, right? And so for me, like this, the self-awareness is really, as much as I'm self-aware, is as close as I am connected to God. It's like a direct reflection. When I'm in the flow, and I'm waking up and I'm getting connected first thing, and I'm very intentional about how I start my day and how I end my days and what I'm doing during the day, because we need more than a please and thank you, God, right? I can't just say, hey, please help me stay sober, and then thank you for keeping, I think that's a disrespect to this power that has ultimately transformed and given me a life beyond my wildest dreams, right? So what do? I spend an hour plus every single morning, reading and plugging in and opening up a channel and choosing to connect to this power that I know is going to carry me throughout this day. And in that connection, I know that my day is going to be that much better, right? And then what am I doing during the day? I'm more humble. I'm more patient, more tolerant. And I'm setting alarms during the day to pray when the day gets too busy and I forget, and I'm praying, and conversations I'm having with other men, because I surround myself with individuals that are growing towards God, not away from God, and they're talking about, their higher power. They're talking about how they're growing individually. And it's like in that space, right? And then at night, after I've handled my responsibilities, not right before I go to bed, I open up my phone and I take a really hard look at how I was dishonest, how I was selfish, what fears I have. It's funny because I share my inventory with some people, and sometimes they'll send me theirs, and it's like, was I dishonest? No. Was I fearful? No. Was I selfish? No. And I'm like, well, fuck, man, what am I doing wrong? Because, almost 8 years into this, and I felt all those today, but it's, if I can't take an honest look about maybe I'm not dishonest in my actions, but what's going on in my head, right? Maybe I did the right thing, but thought first, like, man, I don't want to fucking go pick this guy up, man. I'd rather, just go right to the meeting, or I don't want to, show up for this, or I don't want to show up for that. I don't want to go out to the jail after a long day at work. I got to go out, drive all the way out to jail to bring this meeting. Like those are my first thoughts. And I need to expose those. I need to talk about those. I need to take a look at those on a daily basis so I can discern what patterns, and then like Justin said so eloquently, it's like that work that I do at night, I'm bringing that into my next day. And then I have a roadmap of like, what can we work on today? And yeah, the work never stops, man. I mean, I pray it doesn't. And, and it's not like something I have to do. It's just like a exciting curiosity about what else I'm going to find about my crazy ass, like, oh, you got that right. You got that going on too, huh? And it's what a gift we have. Like this recovery lifestyle, right? Where not a lot of people have the opportunity, to, work through things from their past, to look at how they're showing up in their daily lives. And it's cool that we have that. And it's more than just having it. What's really miraculous is when we start using it, because then we start to experience the promises that this recovery lifestyle truly affords. Right. And you see a lot of people have a lot of sobriety time and they just look miserable. Right. And you ask them, what are you doing? Are you sponsoring people? Are you doing inventory? You do gratitude? You what are you doing on daily? And they're like, no, I just go to meetings, just go to meetings, and as vital as meetings are, man, the work is when we're outside of the meetings. And I'm just grateful that I'm awake to the fact that the more I do this stuff, the better off I am. The more I grow, the closer to God I get, the closer to my people I get, the closer to my family. It's yeah, very cool.
Yeah. And it's as far as the where else and what else is like, but it's also like being childlike. I always say being childlike, optimistic about what else can I uncover about what I can do, who I am, all the right things, everything that's right with me, not just what's wrong, but what also is right,
Right.
Yeah, because like there's so many things, just like when we turn our defects into assets, where can that take us? What's that road look like? If paving the way, we're the lucky ones. We are the lucky ones to be able to have this opportunity, because you see it day in and day out. Like you talk about the misery, it's inside and outside these rooms. Just it's about living life to the fullest, and that means life, like having life and being life, and in that flow, the flow, like you're talking about, Nate. That flow is so important, to where I'm, not a victim of circumstance. I'm not sitting here thinking about what life is doing to me, but what am I bringing to it? How am I showing up for it? What does this look like? Because life be lifing, whether you like it or not, life be lifing. And it's how Nate, we always talk about it too. It's like the attitude I bring into it, right? It's my attitude. And what is the attitude?
Angle of approach, man.
I think that was the most thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
My attitude is the angle of approach. And it's like, how am I approaching the circumstance that's happening in my life, and what angle am I going at it at? Is it maybe I need to shift it a little bit, and if you shift it just a little degree, maybe I can see it in a different light, or maybe not. Maybe it's just the way it is for this moment, and it too shall pass. And the DBAB thing, we talk about DBAB, and that's not being a victim to circumstance.
Yeah.
If I can get that DBAB mentality down, harness that stuff, then I don't feel so like I'm being taken advantage by everybody and everything and every situation and everything, So
yeah, it reminds me of just this past week. My dad's in the hospital, and I wake up on a Monday with this one idea of how this week is going to unfold, and and, getting into work and all the, normal routine and all that stuff. And I take dad to the hospital. He has to be admitted. He has to have this procedure. That angle of approach, right? I could have been taking it one or two ways, right? And this is the cool thing about this is the ripple effect, right? Because not only could I have taken it one or two ways, but those that around me could have taken it one or two ways. But thankfully, I'm surrounded by individuals who support and encourage family and showing up where we belong, right? Because I get all the support from my work, I get all the support from my fellowship. Don't worry about coming to this. Be there for your dad, right? And because I don't resist the flow, right, because that's where we get disturbed. It's not so much what's happening. It's the fact that we don't accept what is, right. Things are unfolding as they're going to unfold, and just to the extent that we resist them is to the extent we're disturbed or distracted or in our feelings about it. But if we accept exactly what's unfolding, which is not easy, it's not easy. It's not easy. And that's why it's a practice. It's a discipline. We have to practice it on a daily basis. But in that space where we're just letting life unfold as it unfolds, man, that's the freedom. That's the freedom. And when you're in that space, right, and you are connected and you're in the flow, it's easier to discern or to become self-aware when you physically will feel the resistance kind of crop up. You'll feel yourself kind of getting lost in old ideas, expectations, self-pity, whatever the case might be. But yeah, it was a cool experience this week, just being in a hospital with my dad, who I look up to and love, who's held me down as my champion, and seeing him hooked up to IVs and machines and can't breathe and is scared. And I don't really have that much fear. I'm just trusting that he's going to be okay, trusting and thanking God for being in this position to be present in the first place. And I'll tell you, Justin, what happened is after he got discharged and we're going to his pharmacy to pick up his medicine, I looked over and my dad, I said, I'm like, Dad, we did good, didn't we? And he's like, son, I'm so thankful you were there. And he's like, my baby boy, I love you. And I saw visibly, right? I saw like it was a tangible, powerful presence, right, in his eyes, like the amends for my mom, the amends for my dad, the amends for my brother, like all came like alive in that moment, without him he just said, I love you, but I saw it, and it was a pretty powerful experience,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is, man. We get to show up for things like that these days.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a gift in itself, and people, when they first get in recovery, it's very hard to harness that energy of being okay and accepting what this is, because we talk about all the time, it's easier to lose than it is to get stuff back, and when things happen, man, it's detrimental. It is like they're the executioner, the person that's doing whatever it is, you know what I mean? And it's really hard to harness that. But if you can get that early on, that mentality, that mindset, that no matter what, I'm going to stay this course. No matter whatever happens or whatever roadblocks are in my way, I'm going to learn how to hurdle those things, or go around it or whatever it is, and figure it out, because eventually the roadblocks are going to stop as much. It's not going to be so many. And then eventually things are just going to be flowing. We've been out of the flow for so long. We haven't been in any kind. The only thing we've been in is this path of destruction, and trying to get it right when we first get in, or not even get it right, but get back into a some kind of semblance of life. We're going to have those things happen. And it's our emotions are running wild, our how we're living and everything that we have to face. We have to do that without drugs and alcohol. That's scary in itself, you know. But as soon as we keep going through those roadblocks and those roadblocks and those roadblocks and those people and these things and every little detail that comes along the way, eventually the things are going to just smooth out and it's going to happen naturally. But we have to get through this. We have to go through the hard stuff. We have to have the hard conversations, communicating your wants, your needs, your all of it. It's going to take some freaking effort and it's going to take time and it's going to not feel good, you know? But once you do, man, I'm telling you, it becomes second nature and everything just starts happening. And then you can start feeling when you get that discomfort come up. You're like, all right. And then you start recognizing those things. You start seeing how you're operating. You start seeing yourself lash out and react. And you're like, I don't like the way I'm doing this. It's just not sitting right. Like Nathan was said, it doesn't sit right anymore. And I can't sit here and stand by it because there's two things going to happen here. It's either you're going to sit here in misery and let those things happen and keep feeling that, and then eventually you're gonna use again, and it just happens. So these self inventories, these gratitude, this corrective measures, these things that we do in our life and put into practice are so important, vital to getting into some kind of flow. And when we get there, it's a game changer. It's a game changer, and it's continuous work. We had some comments all the way back, dude. I there's some good ones, dude. Like we got Jeremy. What's up, Jeremy? Justin, we've been through a lot, man. I'm so glad we're on this other side, living the way we should be. Love you, man. Love you too, dude. Yes, it is a lot better on this side of the fence. You know what I mean? And we got Roger.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I knew you'd be happy about this one. Great to see you guys. Hope Shot kept me living for months. Today I'm sober, have my own apartment, a job. Thank you for
where are you at, Roger? Hit us up.
I know, right? It's coming out of left field. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then we got Jimmy, man. He's got 21 months today. Thanks for all the help, guys. Oh man. See? That's the gift. That's the ripple. Like Nate was just talking about not too long ago. That ripple.
A picture right next to an amends, you know?
Yeah, right here.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Let's see. We got Diantha says, I'm still figuring out who I am. And it's like recovery. It's a journey, not a destination. That's right.
Yeah. And let me share on that too.
Go.
May we always be figuring out who we are, right? That's not like, okay, I know who I am. Peace out. You know, I'm done. No, like, that's why I love step 2 in the program. You know, it says we come to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity, right? I come to believe. It doesn't say I believe, right? It says I come to believe. And I believe we're coming to believe and coming to awareness and coming into who we are our entire lives, right? That's, you know, the miracle is not so much the outcome. The miracle is in the seeking. It's in the curiosity. It's in that like longing to dig deeper, to get closer, to uncover, you know, just who and what we are in relation to God and others, right? And then getting to share that, and which is super important. That like, who are we surrounding ourselves with, right? Because, you know, talk about self-awareness. I have some people in my life that are going to tell me about myself, right, without hesitation, and they know me so well, so they understand when I'm not in character, right? And I don't even really have to say anything. They see it. I don't have to talk. They see my disposition and immediately know, Nate, you okay? What's wrong, right? And yeah, if you guys don't have a tribe like that around you, man, then I suggest you go look for one, because there's power in this fellowship. There's power in that connection, in those friendships, when somebody, you know, sees you, truly sees you, but they only can see you if you let them in. Yeah. So
got some roadblocks up yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Those are the roadblocks too. It's not the ones on the exterior, it's the interior too.
Yeah. I always say, like, the last thing standing between God and me is myself. You know, and the same goes for others, right?
See, we got Lindsay says, I'm doing step 10. Thank God for an honest inventory. I find myself doing the same crap over and over again in one area when it comes to work. I find it harder to be principled when I'm around non-principled people and they don't call you out and hold you accountable. I have to be the example. That's right. That's what we
Mhm.
do.
Yeah.
Again, the ripple effect. It's the ripple effect. And it goes into other people too, because they're gonna wonder, it's like, damn, can't be phased, you know?
Right.
Not phasing. And that's they need the most, man. It's the sick friends, It's like when you're a principled person and you're dealing with non-principled people, it's like you're dealing with a sick friend, you know? How would you treat that? That's where you gotta think everybody's sick. Hey, Jimmy, Jimmy covered us up, dude. Are we gone? Oh, I can't do it. That's thanks guys for everything. When my friends were betting against me, saying I would never be able to stay sober, you guys never gave up on me. And just to have someone to believe in you when the rest of the world had given up on me gave me hope and a shot to make it. I think that's you. That's I think that's you.
You have the
Got
perfect
the
name,
perfect.
Hope Shot.
Oh yeah. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I'm trying to do this. Thank you, Justin, Nathan, and all the people at the Hope Shot that never gave up on me. I love you guys. Love you too, Jimmy.
Love you,
I love
buddy.
that. Let's see. We have Diantha says, I've been out of work for a little over a month now, and there's a lot of old thinking that crops up. My mental health is taking a toll, and along with the motivation for my recovery. I don't want to use, but damn, it's hard to get up some days.
Yeah. That's when we double down, right? Here's the thing. People always have this tendency, even me in early recovery, right? Like I turn to God, I turn to the work when things go wrong. And what I've discovered is that if I'm consistent and doing the work on a daily basis, then I'm prepared for the inevitable low spots that are ahead. Loss of job, loss of relationship, what have you, whatever, you name it, right? How am I preparing on a daily basis to walk through life as life unfolds, right? And it's like this stuff defies gravity, right? When we don't have a job, we do more recovery. When we do have a job, we prioritize recovery. And even like Justin and I are busy, right? But we when you do these things and you prioritize these things, it frees up more space. It creates a space for blessings to manifest in, right? It says there's something about making sure, not forgetting why we're in a position to experience these blessings in the first place. It's through the work, right? It says in the promises, it says these things will materialize if we work for them, right? And we have to continue to do the work to keep having the promises, right? It just doesn't we stop doing stuff and expect
Mhm.
everything to keep happening. And
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and we get complacent. We're like, man, I've been doing this forever. I've been da 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 da, da," and but we got to figure out like, okay, so what do we need to do? How can we switch it up a little bit? Can
Right.
we tweak the formula? We can't get rid of the whole damn project. We got to tweak the formula and figure out what is it inside me or what is it inside that I can do with my recovery in order to make things better
Yeah.
or different. Find that that sweet spot again.
Yeah, it's a spiritual axiom, right? If I am disturbed, then the problem is always me, right? Right? Why am I disturbed? Right?
Why? Yeah.
Why?
I
Why?
got more roadblocks I haven't found.
Yeah,
There's sometimes they're subconsciously happening and I have no reason, I have no clue why or how or if
yeah,
it's even happening until I talk to other people and let them know what's going on. I mean, that's the whole reason to have a tribe, like
yeah.
like Nathan was talking about. When you have that tribe, they know you better than you know yourself. Like when I was using, I was the last one to figure it out. I did not look as good as I thought I did. You know? I thought I was looking good. No, dude, you're 130 pounds with collarbones sticking out each side. Come on, like you were definitely on the low. Uh, Same way with recovery. Everybody knows before I do that something's going on, and it's up to me to express that to other people or let people in enough to where they know me. You know.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got Valerie says the roadblocks are for a purpose, holding ground. Yes.
Hmm.
And then we Ito or just DBAB. Danthan wants to know what DBAB is. It's don't be a bitch. That's it. Don't be a bitch. And as soon as you do that, you're out of victim mode. That's how I keep telling myself. Don't be a bitch. Then you're right out of victim mode. And we got Katie says, I'm in my early recovery. Those roadblocks looked like mountains, but I climbed each one and I'm so grateful I got through all of it clean. Yeah. And you have ones that creep up out of nowhere. You didn't know they were going to be, and you have to navigate the best as possible. And sometimes it feels like your whole world's crashing in, whole world. And it's got to take one step at a time and not let it get the best of you. Let's see. We got Debbie. What's up, Debbie? Thank you for helping to get my son back into sober living. I was hoping for a rehab for more in-depth help, but appreciate all your help. He's doing great. He's doing great.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else we got? Rachel, rule number 1, D-bag. That's right. That's right. Mike, you're probably that one person that we had watching in the beginning, number 1, and didn't say a damn word till now. I know it's you.
Yeah.
Oh, crap. Yeah. Let's see what else we got. I have that shirt. Good. I just remember that anytime you have that shirt on, just for today, D-bag.
Yeah.
That's it. That takes you out of that victim mentality.
And I think, the talking about like roadblocks and detours and, dress it up however you want, adversity, loss, death, right? All these things that I believe that it's easy to get into this mindset that things when we're in recovery, like life isn't going to happen, right? Like things that we're impervious to, losing loved ones or, losing jobs or losing relationships, whatever that looks like. And, someone said, the roadblocks are for a purpose, and that's the miracle, right? Is understanding that no matter what is happening in your life has a divine purpose, right? Even leading up to recovery, and how the transformation is that the awareness, right, that is only provided through a spiritual experience that I can only gotten from received from step work is that it gives makes all my nothing something, right? It gives purpose to everything that has happened previously to recovery. And then when I'm in recovery, they're all like guideposts, right? They're like signs, like, okay, I need to go this direction. I need to stop. I need to pause. I need to look at this. I need to, why, and when you start being awake to this stuff, you see how this power, whatever you choose to call it, manifest in our life. I put this in my gratitude the other day, but I was surfing and it was freezing out, right? My hands are numb, my feet are numb, and I'm in the middle of the water, and I'm praying out loud to God, like, thank you, God, for bringing my dad home safely, for the space provided for me to be present. God, wrap my daughters in a heavenly embrace. Just talking to God, say hi to my mom for me. And after I said this prayer, this beautiful wave comes my way, and I pop up on it, and I look down the line, and the sun just happens to be breaking at a certain point, and it's right in my eyes, and I can't see if I have to like stay on top of the wave, do a little bottom turn, let it line up, and I just have to trust to stay exactly where I'm at. And it was like the best wave I ever caught. I rode this bitch all the way to the shore, right? And we can look at that one or two ways. I can be like, oh, that was a good wave, paddle back out, catch another one. But I'm like, praise God, like, thank you for sending me that, right? And it's, what other waves am I missing, right? What is happening in my life that I'm not awake to, right? The losses, the pain, the adversity, like, they're all just waves, right? They're waves sent from God. And to the extent that I am awake to it is to the extent I continue to grow and can see it for what it is. Just all like a a long winding road back to him, to her, to it, whatever you call it, right? And it's being awake to that stuff, being aware enough, and doing the work that puts me in a position to see how life is unfolding just as it should be always. I'm always right where I belong. I always have time. I am enough just as I am. I have enough, right? I don't need more. I'm everything I need is provided. And what if in that mindset, with that perspective, how can I be grateful? How can I look back from where I've come from? See, that's the thing. I want to look at others and see where they're at. But all I have to do, if I want to compare anything, all I just got to do is look back to where I started and where I'm at. It's very difficult to not be grateful if we know where we came from,
Yeah. Look at the start and look where you are. I can forget. I can get caught up, about what the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, the stuff that ain't going right. But all I have to do is just look about to where I was and look where I am now. I'd be like, bro, if you would have told me when I started this thing, I'd be here right now, I tell you, you're crazy. I tell you, you're freaking nuts.
Justin, even 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a completely different space than I imagined I would be from 2 years ago, a year ago. I never would have thought I'd be exactly where I'm at right now. And but that's the freedom, is being okay and accepting of where we're at all times. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's right or wrong, or it just means that here we are. And if I can be present and have both feet on the ground and embrace that great truth, that wherever I'm at is where I belong at all times, then I can experience God, and I can be present, and I can have real relationships,
and not feel out of place.
Right.
Yeah. What do you want to answer this with, Debbie?
How and where does the mental health help fit in with sobriety? There's a few different ways you can look at it. There's some like fundamentalist that says, oh, recovery will solve everything, and they frown on people going to, a therapist or seeking outside help. Right. There's another line in our literature. It says, when the spiritual malady is overcome, the mental and the physical will soon follow. Right. Mm. So there's different schools of thought on this. Right. And I believe, and this is just my opinion, is that how can I ever address my mental health, my physical health, any type of health, right, if I'm not sober, right? So the first priority is getting to a space of sobriety and recovery, so I can start to look and become self-aware and understand that the drugs and the alcohol are the least of my fucking problems, right? The real problem is that underlying stuff that keeps me incessantly needing to return to a chemical solution to make me feel okay with who I am, right? But I can only start addressing this stuff when I'm in a sober mind. Mm-hmm. Right. And once I get in that space, then I can start looking, I have options, right? I have the space to start addressing these underlying issues that is most likely the cause of where I'm at in the first place, mm-hmm. which is my mental health. And I say seek outside help. I say seek, I see a therapist to this day. Shit, I see her next week on Thursday, it's part of my recovery. I believe it's very naive to think that this solution, recovery, can come only from one place, right? And that's the freedom of being in recovery, is opens up our minds, it opens up our spirits, and it opens up our hearts to go seek recovery in other places, right? Whether it be mental health, whether it be in a hobby, whether it be whatever the case, right? I want to seek and find out everything that I possibly can so that I can be a better human being, right? And wherever that, and only But I just, in my experience, the only opportunity I ever had to be in that space, to have that curiosity and willingness to try to grow as an individual, started when I was in recovery. You know, if I'm, you know, if I'm getting loaded, my options, that hallway is very narrow, right?
Mhm.
My options are super limited. But once I, take that out of the equation, all sorts of opportunities start to present themselves, and I can really start delving into, these deep seated and, you know, issues that are, probably driving the car to begin with.
Yeah, and sometimes we don't know that until we get a little bit of time, you
Yeah.
know? I didn't start getting therapy until I was like 2 or 3 years in to
Yeah.
this recovery process, but I was still struggling, in one form or fashion. I had to figure it out. I mean, everybody's different, and sometimes therapy works wonders and sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on the person, and some people just need straight recovery, you know,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with getting outside influence either. I think that's a big misconception inside of recovery that, maybe it's a human thing, that therapy is something bad,
Right.
we have that self-limiting belief in a lot of things, and we got to get rid of those. We got to discard them, be childlike, um, and that's what I hope everybody gets like, you
Yeah.
know, and gets because it can help. We got to figure out what that looks like, what the help looks like, and not be so hypocritical about what it is, you know?
Yeah. And also, Justin, I think also like, you know, to not pigeonhole recovery, right? Like
Yeah.
what recovery is to us might be something completely different to somebody else, right? Somebody might find that they're recovering in therapy. Someone might find that they're recovering in church. Some find they might be in recovery just by, surrendering the drugs and alcohol and just, being with their family. Who knows? It's not our responsibility to label someone else's recovery. If someone is trying and striving to be better than they were yesterday, they're in recovery. They're trying. They're growing. And I believe we have these very, especially in the recovery arena, people have a tendency to have very narrow-minded views,
Hmm.
and want them to recover just the way they did, and that's the
Hmm.
only way that you can possibly recover. And that shit could kill somebody, man, because everybody is going to get this gift differently. I believe it all comes from the same source, but we all take different roads to get to the source, right?
Yeah.
So we have to respect those different roads and what they look like, and how, and what has transpired, and what people's stories are, and how they've gotten to this point where they're actually willing to do something different, whatever that looks like, right?
And unravel that self-limiting belief, because what
Yeah.
it is, it's like, are they ready? Are they ready to hear the message that you're about to, give them, or maybe they're just not ready, and everybody has those times. I'm telling you, where I was here, in the beginning of my recovery is not where I am today, and I'm willing to hear, because I was so closed-minded, and then and I didn't want to hear nothing. So, and I had to unravel some things and wonder why I even felt that way in the first place, or what I believed, or what I didn't believe, or what I felt. And it was like I was on old data, as old data that I had to reboot, and it takes time. It takes time in order to get that. And so sometimes people are just not ready. That road looks different for everybody, because the same place they're going to, maybe they're not ready to hear those things. Maybe it takes them, you have a shorter distance to get from point A to point B, but they need to go take a left turn right here and go down this other street. And then, we don't know what that roadmap looks like. But I say, just like, don't judge, let people be people, and if it's not harming or hindering, let it be, you know?
And just, if we're consistent in our message, right, and sometimes, the greatest message we can, share with another doesn't come from our respective fellowships. It doesn't come from the Bible. It doesn't come from it. It just comes from the one universal language that everybody understands, which is love, right? Unconditional love, tolerance, grace. The same thing that people who loved us dearly and watched us kill ourselves for years gave us, right? why not afford somebody the same sort of, grace and love and forgiveness, and not shame them, not judge them, not, impart, what we feel how they should recover, because
Yeah.
that's what works for us. Well, that might not work for them, but what will work for them. I had this guy. I was just walking my dog this evening. And it's freezing out, right? I'm in a hoodie. I'm in a beanie. I don't know how he noticed me, but I think like 2 or 3 months ago, he was walking, and I could see he was homeless. And I hate saying this out loud because I don't do this for this, but anyway, it's a good story. And he asked, he's like, "Hey man, you got a couple bucks?" And I gave him some money, and I gave him my card. And I'm like, "If you don't want to be homeless anymore, come see us. We'll help you." And he noticed me tonight. It was dark out. There's no street lights. He's like, "You gave me that card. You said he could get me off the streets. I lost the card." And I told him where to go, but he remembered that kindness. Justin, how many times do people come back around after we've helped them 2, 3 years ago? Because no matter what happened to them, if they relapsed, if they made a mistake, whatever the case might be, we treated them with kindness and love and grace and tolerance through the whole process. That's the shit that sticks. Maybe not so much the words or the step or the verse, any of that stuff. It's how we treat people and meet them where they're at in their lowest, right? Because they just want to be seen and heard. That's it.
No, that's facts right there.
Yeah.
So that's it for tonight, guys. I hope you guys got that, man. And maybe it's something we need to work on during the week. Maybe it's something we need to figure out. How can I be what all this was? How can I be a little bit more self-aware? How can I see where I'm at and where I fault? Maybe there's some roadblocks in my way at this very moment that I need to hurdle over. And maybe that's that push that you needed, that where you don't feel you're not sitting in it. You're not sitting in the shit, But I'll give you so I was at Argento's the other night, and I was just eating with some friends, after a celebration after my home group, and I had somebody come up to, tap me on the shoulder and say, "Hey, thank you for your service." And I'm like, "I'm not military." And he's like, "No, thank you for your service, what you do for the community with the Hope Shot." He's like, I've seen you around and I know who you are, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, and it's just like, man, that right there, that's a God moment. That was a God moment for me, man, because the stuff gets hard sometimes, man. But it gave me a little bit of boost. It gave me right what I need in that moment, and it was cool. It was really cool. I wanted to share that because I thought it was really neat that to be doing this 8 years ago. Couldn't tell me this was going to be happening, but here we are. So,
Here we are. Yeah.
So just remember that while you're out here going over your little hurdles and your roadblocks, because this stuff. I've had a lot along this way, and it's all been for a purpose. So,
Amen. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Nate, for coming on. I love you, and we love you guys, man. Thank you all so much for being on here and listening to us tonight. And we'll see you next Sunday right here on the Hope Shot, 8 p.m. Peace.